Hello and welcome to Millennium Sports World. Today we will present the latest update of Brittany Griner returning to the USA and some World Cup stories. Besides that, we will give you a tour from local sports to international sports including MMA, golf, tennis, auto race, boxing, NFL and some more sports news. So let's start today's Sports World. WNBA star Brittany Griner didn't want any alone time as soon as she boarded a US government plane that would bring her home. I have been in prison for 10 months now, listening to Russian. I want to talk, Griner said, according to Roger Kirstens, the special presidential envoy for hostage affairs, who helped secure the basketball star's release and bring her back to the US last week. She then asked Kirstens, referring to others on the plane, but first of all, who are these guys? And she moved right past me and went to every member on that crew, looked them in the eyes, shook their hands and asked about them, got their names, making a personal connection with them, Kirstens recalled. It was really amazing ultimately. Griner spent about 12 hours of an 18-hour flight talking with others on the plane, Kirstens said. The two-time Olympic gold medalist and Phoenix Mercury pro basketball star spoke about her time in the Russian penal colony and her months in captivity, Kirstens recalled. Although he declined to go into specific details, Griner is undergoing a full medical and mental evaluation. Kirstens said she appeared full of energy, looked fantastic. Griner, who also played pro basketball in Russia, was arrested at Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport in February after Russian authorities said she was carrying vape canisters with cannabis oil. The US State Department declared Griner to be wrongfully detained, a charge that Russia has sharply rejected. Now, World Cup stories. Cristiano Ronaldo said in a cryptic social media post that his dream of winning the World Cup with Portugal has ended, while stopping short of announcing his retirement from international duty. The 37-year-old Ronaldo left the field in tears after Portugal lost 1-0 to Morocco in the quarterfinals on Saturday. In his first comments after the elimination, Ronaldo said Sunday that it was time to take stock without saying explicitly if he wants to carry on being available for Portugal after 19 years in the national team. There is no point in reacting rashly, Ronaldo wrote on Instagram. I just want everybody to know that a lot has been said, a lot has been written, a lot has been speculated about, but my dedication to Portugal has never wavered for an instant. I have always been just one more Portuguese fighting for everyone's goal. I would never turn my back on my teammates or my country. Ronaldo, who is the all-time leading scorer in men's international soccer with 118 goals, said putting Portugal on the highest level in the world was his biggest dream. It was a new twist on an old story for England. Harry Kane's late penalty flew high over the bar at Al Bayt Stadium Saturday, effectively sealing the national team's World Cup fate. French held out for a 2-1 win that sent the defending champions back to the semi-finals and England home. Penalties have cost the Three Lions time and again at major tournaments. They have lost shootouts on 7 occasions at World Cups and European Championships since 1990. It didn't come down to that against France, but Kane still faced a test of nerve from the spot when standing over the ball in the 84th minute. The England captain had already scored one penalty to tie Aurélien Tchouameni's opening goal, but couldn't repeat that act after Olivier Giroud put France back in front with what turned out to be the winner. England's wait for a first trophy since its one and only World Cup win in 1966 goes on. Now, American football stories. Caleb Williams brought sizzle, excitement and star power back to Southern California football, and now the Heisman Trophy too. Williams, the dynamic quarterback who was the catalyst for the Trojans' turnaround season, won the Heisman on Saturday night to make USC the first school to take home college football's most prestigious Player of the Year award 8 times. Williams received 544 first-place votes and 2,031 points to easily outpoint TCU quarterback Max Duggan. Williams, who played last season at Oklahoma, is the fourth transfer to win the Heisman in the last 6 years, joining Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray of Oklahoma and Joe Burrow of LSU. Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud was third in the voting after coming in fourth last season. Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett, the first Bulldogs player to attend the awards presentations in 30 years, finished fourth. The top-ranked Bulldogs will face Stroud and the fourth-ranked Buckeyes in the college football playoff on December 31st. Duggan and the third-ranked Horned Frogs will play number 2 Michigan in the other CFP semifinal on New Year's Eve. Navy running back Anton Hall Jr. collapsed to the ground and buried his face in his hands. West Point cadets spilled from the stands onto the field and joined Army players who ripped off their helmets and ran around in celebration. Hall's push toward the end zone in the second overtime and first OT game in Army-Navy history resulted in a fumble that Army recovered. The Black Knights went from potentially playing for a tie to simply playing for a winning score. Somehow, the ball got loose and we hit that thing when we needed to, Army coach Jeff Monken said. Quinn Merritzky kicked the game-winning 39-yard field goal after he had sent the game into overtime with a 37-yarder late in the fourth quarter and led Army past the Midshipmen 2017 on Saturday night in the first OT game in the 123 matchups of America's game. Now, baseball stories. Trevor Williams and the Washington Nationals finalized a 2-year contract Saturday, giving the rebuilding club a right-handed pitcher with experience as a starter and reliever. Williams, who turns 31 in April, was a free agent after pitching for the New York Mets last season, going 3-5 with a 3.21 ERA and 1 save in 30 appearances, 9 as a starter and 21 out of the bullpen. On November 25, the day after Thanksgiving, Williams tweeted, "Black Friday free agent sale, today only. 2-for-1 deal. Buy one Trevor Williams, the RHP, and also get Trevor Williams, the LHH corner outfielder. Deal expires at midnight EST." Williams made his major league debut in 2016 and has pitched for the Pirates, Cubs and Mets across 7 seasons, posting a 4.27 ERA with a record of 38-44. Japanese pitcher Kodai Senga and the New York Mets have agreed to a $75 million 5-year contract, according to a person familiar with the negotiations. The person spoke to the Associated Press early Sunday on condition of anonymity because the deal was pending a physical. It is the latest big move for free spending owner Steve Cohen and the busy Mets during a dizzying week. Senga figures to slot into the middle of a revamped rotation headed by 3-time Cy Young Award winners Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Hours earlier, the Mets completed a $162 million 8-year contract Saturday to bring back free agent center fielder Brandon Nimmo. New York also finalized deals with free agent pitchers Verlander, Joe Quintana and David Robertson in the past few days after re-signing All-Star closer Edwin Diaz to a $102 million 5-year deal last month. Now, basketball story. 6 months later, the Splash Brothers were still feeling it from all over the court against the Celtics and delivered one of their team's signature wins of the season so far. Klay Thompson scored 34 points, Stephen Curry added 32 with 6 3-pointers, and Golden State beat Boston 123-107 on Saturday night in a rematch of this year's NBA Finals owned by the Warriors in 6 games. "We gutted it out," Warriors coach Steve Kerr said. "Steve and Klay obviously had it rolling, so we were making shots. Jordan Poole had 20 points starting in place of injured Andrew Wiggins despite shooting 1 for 9 from long range. Thompson scored 12 of his points in the opening quarter, shooting 5 of 9 and had 24 by halftime. Curry shot 12 for 21 and had 7 assists and 6 rebounds playing 37 minutes. Now some American mixed martial arts stories. UFC 282 features an exciting slate of fights, including bantamweight Raul Rosas Jr.'s historic debut in the octagon Saturday night, According to ESPN Stats and Information Research, at 18 years and 63 days old, Roses became the youngest fighter to compete in the UFC when he faced Jay Perry. The previous record was held by Dan Luzon, who was 18 years and 198 days old at UFC 64 on October 14, 2006. Roses won his debut, defeating Perrin via submission in the first round. With the victory, Roses is the youngest fighter in UFC history to win his debut match. The sports world flocked to Twitter to congratulate the 18-year-old on an impressive start to his UFC career. The Ultimate Fighting Championship's lightweight throne remains unclaimed. Jan Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev battled to a split draw in the UFC 282 headliner on Saturday at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, leaving the 205-pound penthouse vacant in wake of former champion Jiří Procházka's reign-ending shoulder injury. Judge Michael Bale cast a 48-47 scorecard for Blachowicz, while Derek Cleary saw it 48-46 for Ankalaev and Sal D'Amato scored it 47-47. The UFC was in a giving mood on Saturday night. The Las Vegas-based promotion handed out a grand total of 11 bonuses following a UFC 282 card that saw finishes in all but the evening's final two bouts. Dricus du Plessis and Darren Till received Fight of the Night honors and $50,000 apiece following their back-and-forth middleweight clash on the main card. Du Plessis dominated round 1 before Till staged a brief rally in the second stanza. Ultimately, Steel Knox recovered and submitted his English foe with a face crank at the 2:43 mark of round 3. Meanwhile, the other 9 competitors on the card who authored a finish, Cameron Simon, TJ Brown, Billy Quarantillo, Chris Curtis, Edmund Shabaziel, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, Raul Roses Jr., Ilia Topuria, and Santiago Ponzinibbio all received a $50,000 performance of the night check. Now the tennis story. The world number 5, Novak Djokovic, missed the opening Grand Slam of 2022 when he was deported over his vaccine status after a high-stakes legal battle. Novak Djokovic will begin his bid for a 10th Australian Open title at the Adelaide International, organizers said, after the Serbian was granted a visa to enter the country. The world number 5 missed the opening Grand Slam of 2022 when he was deported over his vaccine status after a high-stakes legal battle. Australia has since lifted the requirement for visitors to show proof of COVID vaccination, and his 3-year ban was overturned by the government in November. Djokovic said at the time it was a relief. The Australian Open has been my most successful Grand Slam, he added. I made some of the best memories there. Djokovic will face a strong field from January 1 to January 8 that also features Felix Auger-Aliassime, Daniil Medvedev and Andrei Rublev, ranked 6, 7 and 8 respectively, along with 2-time Wimbledon champion Andy Murray. His long-time rival Rafael Nadal, the defending Australian Open champion, will instead use the United Cup, a new mixed teams event in Perth, Brisbane and Sydney, as his warm-up to the Grand Slam. Now golf story. Charlie Hoffman and Ryan Palmer had 10 birdies in modified alternate shot Saturday for a 10 under 62, setting the 36-hole record in the QBE shootout and taking a 2-shot lead into the final day. Teammates for the first time, Hoffman and Palmer were at 26 under 118. That broke the record by 1 shot previously shared by Harris English and Matt Kuchar in 2020 and Jason Day and Cameron Tringle in 2014. Hoffman and Palmer led by 2 shots over Tom Hook and Sahith Theegala, both playing the unofficial event for the first time. They combined for a 60 at Tiburon Golf Club. In modified alternate shot, both players hit tee shots and then they alternate shots the rest of the way. The final round will be 4 balls. English and Kuchar, who have won the QBE shootout 3 times together, also had a 62 and were 4 shots behind along with Day and Billy Herschel, who had a 61. That's the same score they had in the scramble format. The 2 LPGA players in the field were 9 shots behind. Nelly Korda and Danny McCarthy had 67, the same score as Lexi Thompson and Maverick McNeely. Korda and McCarthy took a double bogey on number 11 and then played their last 6 holes in 7 under par. 6 of the 12 teams had 65 or lower in the modified alternate shot. Now, auto race story. MDK Motorsports is bringing father and son Danish racing duo Jan and Kevin Magnussen to Daytona for the 2023 Rolex 24 at Daytona to drive alongside team owner Mark Vamy in a new Porsche 911 GT3R. In addition, Jan will be doing the full Michelin Endurance Cup in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. First of all, I'm so happy that Kevin and I are doing the Rolex 24 together, declared Jan Magnussen, a two-time IMSA GTLM champ and a Daytona winner in the class. After the 24 hours of Le Mans last year, we hoped there would come more opportunities to do these endurance races together. Thanks to MDK Motorsports and Mark Kivame, we are now on the entry list for another fantastic event. Daytona will be a one-off for Kevin Magnussen before he resumes preparing for the 2023 Formula One season with Haas. The younger Magnussen was slated to be in Chip Ganassi Racing's Cadillac DP last season and competed at Daytona before being called back to Haas to replace Nikita Mazepin. Now, boxing story. Unbeaten world champion Terence Crawford knocked out David Avanesian in the 6th round Saturday night to retain his WBO welterweight belt. Crawford, fighting for the first time in more than a year, had the 6th-ranked challenger wobbling with a flurry of blows before landing a right cross to the chin that put Avanesian to the canvas 2 minutes, 14 seconds into the round. I was touching him to the body and I was seeing that had an effect, Crawford said. He had a high guard and I picked up the pace. There were punches in bunches I saw on opening and took it, and the rest is history. Crawford was fighting in his hometown for the 6th time as a professional and first time since 2018, and cheers of Crawford started before introductions. The pay-per-view bout was made after negotiations for an undisputed welterweight championship fight between Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. broke down in October. Crawford didn't call out Spence directly, saying he would consider anyone who wants to fight, preferably in the spring. That's all in today's sports world. Keep watching Millennium Sports World for latest sports updates. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago Media Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.